Now, we do have George Donaldson here with us, and he has got a little surprise for some of our youngsters. So George, can you come up? I would like to ask you a couple of questions about the season before you lead on to the award. George, we are very, very fortunate to have you in the championship. How do you think the juniors have progressed over the course of 2009?
Well, this is the first year I've really managed to have the spare time that has coincided with the events that you've been running. I think I was meant to be involved last year, Digby, wasn't I? Yes. I made 2 events last year. But I got really into it this year. One of the first things that happened was that Andrew Wood, I think, invited me, along with Robert Reid, to come to a test day. And we went out and watched at this test day. And apart from our illustrious sponsor being there in his Honda, I did my best not to try and sell you a Subaru. I do work for Subaru in Japan. I didn't try and sell you that, John. I hope I didn't anyway. I didn't succeed anyway, that's for sure. But we went out and watched the guys on the stage, and everybody was talking about this kid, John McCrone. But, don't get bored with this story yet. I know you've all heard a lot about John, but don't get bored with him. Anyway, I said to Andrew, I said, what's he like in the car? Andrew said, I'm not going to have a bloody car with him. You see him, he's a lunatic. Robert Reid standing there, same story. I'm finished with being in the cars. I've been with a world champion, that's it, I'm not going in the car. And I said, well, how can you possibly give people feedback unless you go in the car? So I'm lucky. I've been in the car with lots of top drivers, even better than Andrew Wood, who's a factory driver. I've been with pretty well just about every world champion, certainly up until about 2004, 2005. I've spent days in the car with these guys. So I thought, well, I'll go in the car with John McCrone. It looks quite exciting. I like to go fast. Well, I went with John, and it was fantastic. But what we discovered together, because I'd never really done very much of this, was I just made a couple of comments to him in the car, and it was a little voyage of discovery between us. He drove the stage once. We didn't take a time. We drove the stage a second time with just a tiny little bit of input and some comment from me, not necessarily instruction, just some comment. And we noticed that there was places where we were a gear and a half faster through some sections, so we realised how much faster it was. And that's I've had the opportunity to be with a few other drivers, and I've noticed it's had the same effect. So I'm not claiming to be clever about this, but it quite clearly is a value to get someone into the car. I think we should strap Andrew in, because he would probably be much better than me, because he was a better driver than I was. So reality is, it's been fantastically rewarding for me, very interesting, and incredibly scary. Gee whiz.
Next year, George, the challenge is making a little change. The Honda Civic is going to come in as the upper class. How do you think this is going to help those that have done well in the 205s?
It's got to have a stronger roll cage. It has to have a stronger roll cage, please. No, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to allow our drivers to really poke their nose into the top 20 and possibly even better. And it also allows drivers to do, as Colin did on Rally of Scotland, go and indulge in the odd international event, which I think, we'll see next year how Colin does, but I'm sure that's given him a huge benefit and experience, and also the taste to go and do more and bigger events. And this is one of the most wonderful things about this championship to me, is that coming along as a newcomer, is to look at the drivers that have gone before that are no longer part of this championship. Digby still owns those guys. He still has husbandry for those guys. He still thinks of them as the 205 guys, and it's very much it. You've got to move forward. The Scottish Championship is a great grounding. We heard already on Rally of Scotland just last week that the comments from all the foreign drivers about the quality of the event and the stages. It's a great learning environment. But we also talked about world champions. You've got to go out and do the bigger events and take the stretch. And it's hard. It's a silly amount of money when you think about rallying. But there's John McCrone from Island of Mull, managed to rally a whole load of people around and get himself, first of all, across to Scotland, and every single event that Digby ran, other than the events themselves, he pitched up at. He made the effort, and now he's on British Championship next year, and presumably having to gather a huge amount of money, but he's just tackling it. And we've seen you and Duncan, Colin Smith, all looking at all the options. Get young Gary Pearson there, plugging his dad's company. Go for it, Gary. The Dragon's Den will have taught you how to get the next ones. But it's a great championship. It's a great deal of I don't know how would we call it, devoted enjoyment in this whole thing. It's deeply rewarding to have done the little bit I've done, and I look forward to doing more. And I'm still prepared to go in people's cars but I'm going to buy my own helmet and a hands device, because I'm sure someone's going to bin me at some point.
Okay, just one final question, George. About 20 years ago, you were very much like the guys that we see here today. Bags and bags of talent, loads of enthusiasm, and trying to get as far ahead as a rally driver as you could. If there was one thing that you know now that you wish you could have known when you were these guys' age, what would it be?
I wish I'd known about the 205 Ecosse Championship. It's all about who you know and who you contact and the little benefits. I think Ewan commented it's about the people you meet and the experiences you learn to take you forward. The bottom line is, I wish I'd known about this championship 30 years ago. I think I was born 30 years too soon. Not 20, it's 30.
Sorry for that. Last thing, George, you've got a bit of an excursion lined up. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, we've got to be a bit careful here because I pulled a little bit of a flanker on my friends in Subaru Norway. Within my job, I work Subaru worldwide, for those of you that weren't aware of that. But we run a single make series in Norway, which is unbelievably economical. A very simple spec of Subaru Impreza, very low cost. But in fact, it's been winning everything. It's been winning, beating all the Group N cars, bought from ProDrive and Tommy Mäkinen, even beating S2000 cars, and it's a £35,000 Impreza. However, that aside, my plug aside, I apologise for that, I've managed to persuade Subaru Norway that there's potentially some Scottish drivers interested in maybe coming and doing some championship events. And they said, oh, well, they could come across to the test. I knew where it was going to go. I obviously planned this out. It wasn't an accident. They said, oh, they could come across and do a test on the ice lake, because on ice lake you'd struggle. Even the John's wildest driving, and I've no Ewan's wildest driving is at least the same as yours. I've never sat with Colin yet, so I'm terrified to find out what that's like in an environment where we cannot fail. But basically, I've got the arrangement to bring Colin, John, Ewan Duncan to Norway in 2.5 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, to drive a Subaru Group N rally car on the ice with me as your instructor. How fantastic. And we should get a morning on the ice between us all, maybe even a little bit more. I'll garner as much as we can. 3 of you, up you come.
Okay, here we go.
That's a phenomenal prize, guys. Good luck and hope you enjoy it. Thank you again, George.